देवी पूजी पद कमल तुम्हारे, सुर नर मुनि सब होए सुखारे। देवी पूजी पद कमल तुम्हारे, सकल मनोरथ सफल हमारे। जय श्री अम्बे जय जगदम्बे, जय श्री अम्बे जय जगदम्बे। श्री माँ जय माँ जय जय माँ, श्री माँ जय माँ जय जय माँ, श्री माँ जय माँ जय जय माँ। जय जय श्री अम्बे जय जगदम्बे, जय श्री अम्बे जय जगदम्बे। श्री माँ जय माँ जय जय माँ, श्री माँ जय माँ जय जय माँ, श्री माँ जय माँ जय जय माँ।
It was a pleasant day in July 1980. No sun, no rain. Just a cool breeze, clouds drifting in the sky, and a slight drizzle now and then. I was driving to Kainchi in my old Willys Jeep. With me were Mummy, her 2 friends, and my 4 nephews, aged between 7 and 13. Everyone was in a rather cheerful mood at the outing. Baba Sri Neemkaroli Maharaj had left his mortal body 7 years ago, but Kainchi continued to have its own spiritual charm for us. On the way, as we traded memories of Maharajji, one of the ladies mentioned to my mother that there was a Mataji in the Kainchi temple now, who was Maharajji's prime disciple. Would we like to have her darshan? My mother readily agreed, but I remember saying airily, "Not for me." Once we reached the ashram, after doing the usual rounds of the temples, the ladies proceeded for Mataji's darshan. I chose to stay with the boys by the river. They were running about, splashing in the water, being playful, and I was enjoying my time with them. Minutes later, a man came from inside and said that Mataji was calling me. Not really keen to go in, I used the pretext that the children could not be left alone by the river. After a little while came the temple pujari Trilokda to say that Mataji wanted me to go in and have the lunch prasad. It didn't seem right to refuse again, and as it would be more appropriate for me to first offer my respects to Mataji before proceeding to eat, I asked Trilokda to take me to her. The temple attendant offered to keep an eye on the boys. I entered the little room, and in front of me were 2 very serene elderly ladies wearing white dhotis, sitting on a mat which looked like a folded black blanket. Around them were seated 5 or 6 people, including members of our group. Seeing Ma smiled. Seeing me, Ma smiled radiantly and then stated, "Ye hai Jaya. This is Jaya." It sounded like an acknowledgement rather than a question. I was confused. The joy on her face, the smile, the instant recognition. How could she be so happy to see someone who had been so disinclined to meet her? I offered pranam and took my place in the furthermost corner of the room. Ma spoke. Occasionally Choti Ma completed her sentences. Everybody listened. The context of the conversation evaded me, but Ma's voice seemed to slowly permeate into my being. In a sudden moment of revelation, something within me said, "Agar Krishna ki bansi hai, to is आवाज में है." If the sound of Krishna's flute is there anywhere, it is in this voice. By now the conversation had steered to the day Maharajji had come to Kainchi. Ma turned to me. "Have you seen the rock on which Maharajji sat when he first came here?" I said I had, but many years ago. She said, "Go and see it again." I did as I was told. Walking to the upper half of the ashram, I stood by Maharajji's chilla. As I stood by the rock, enchanted by the tranquility of the spot, I closed my eyes for what must have been a moment or 2. They seemed infinite, though, merging my mind into a silent stillness I had never experienced before. The gentle caress of a hand on my head brought me back. I turned around and saw Ma standing behind me. I told her how peaceful it was. After a pause, she put her assuring hand upon my shoulder and said to me, "तू यहाँ रहेगी. जहाँ भी ध्यान करेगी वहाँ ध्यान लगेगा. You will live here. Wherever you want to meditate, you will be able to meditate." I was filled with confusion. Meditate? Yes. But live here? I had no such thoughts. And yet, what were my thoughts? The day was 21st July 1980, and ever since my father's passing in 1969, I had been on a silent spiritual quest for more than a decade. That deep yearning within to find the meaning of life had taken me to ashrams and sages across India. As a child, I had met Swami Shivanand, and later I met his disciple, Swami Chidanand, Anandmayi Ma, Dehra Baba, and from 1970 onwards, Mummy and I spent several months each year in Sai Baba's ashram in Puttaparthi. Even when I was young, beneath the joyous surface of my life, school and college, friends, the warmth of a loving family, holidays in India and abroad, there flowed within me a hidden stream that was almost compulsively searching for its source. With the exception of my mother, no one noticed this side of me though. Perhaps because there had never been any perceptive change in my lifestyle, and I was a part of all that went on at home and school with usual enthusiasm. As a family, we were social, and there were lively luncheons for friends and often formal dinners for dignitaries. There were regular visits by scholars such as Professor Nurul Hasan and Dr. Girija Shankar Mishra, eminent personalities of the time such as Pandit Govind Vallabh Pant, Sayyid Ali Zahir, Dr. Sampurnanand, Keshav Dev Malviya, Governors Dr. Gopal Reddy and Dr. Chenna Reddy, and several others who all lent their hue to the gathering. Most days, I also enjoyed playing squash at the Balrampur estate next door or badminton with friends at Hotel Metropole. Life went on as before, and the transition to the spiritual path was so gradual that it felt natural and came to be accepted as my chosen way of life by the family. My Nanaji had a vast library of spiritual books in Chapsali, his house in Shimla, and I was the only one in the family, other than him, who spent a great deal of time there, poring over these books. The publications of the Theosophical Society of India, the Ramakrishna Mission, and the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, the books of Shri Aurobindo, Swami Vivekanand and Paramhans Yoganand, Paul Brunton's book that revealed Raman Maharshi to the West, translations of the Vedas and the Upanishads that I handled but did not quite understand. On our way to Puttaparthi, it was a ritual to stop at the Vedant book house in Bangalore, where I would buy a stack of old books on the Himalayan yogis who somehow inspired me deeply. I was in fact fortunate enough to meet a few of them on my trek to Gomukh, Kedarnath, which also took me to many lesser known shrines hidden in the mountains. But mostly I read and read and read. Now I realize that this too was part of the process. I was perhaps being prepared my whole life so I would be able to receive the spark when it came. Ma walked back to the darshan room. I followed her. She told everyone that she had returned from Neemkaroli village a day earlier and asked for the roti prasad from there to be brought to her. One of the ashram ladies fetched some rotis in a basket. Ma gave out one to each person in the room, except for me. "You like reading books?" she asked me. I was surprised that she should say this. It was, of course, entirely true. Ma picked up the last roti and kept it in her hands, turning it back and forth. "Yes, Ma," I said. "Aaj se kitabein padhna chhod de," she said. "From today, stop reading." I was taken aback. But almost immediately after, I felt acceptance for this in my heart. Now, when I think back to that moment, I wonder why Ma had asked me to stop reading books. At the time, I read any and every book bordering on spirituality, whatever I got my hands on. Consequently, I was confused and not getting anywhere, anchorless, something like the proverbial rolling stone that gathers no moss. Perhaps the moment had come for Ma to initiate me and set me on my final path. Studying books of her choice was the first step. Turning to the gathering, Ma quoted a bhajan, Param Divya, Param Gopya, Mantra Ram Nam. Deeply divine, precious secret, the Mantra Ram Nam. She went on to explain that Maharaj Ji used to say, Ram Naam में इतनी शक्ति है कि विधि का लिखा अंक भी मिट जाता है. Such is the power in the name of Ram that even what has been predetermined in our destiny can be rewritten. I took that as a message. The very next day, I took my collection of spiritual books to Kainchi and left them in the small library there. It was time for me to set aside bookish knowledge and focus on meditating upon the Lord's name. Eventually, we were all told to proceed for lunch, after which we would leave. I bowed down to offer pranam. Placing the roti in my palms, Ma tenderly covered my hands with hers. She said, मैं जीवंती से कह रही थी, आज जो आएगा वो बड़ा भाग्यशाली होगा. I was telling Jivanti that whoever comes today will be very blessed. I was the last one to step out of the little room that day. Looking back at her, the revelation dawned on me that Ma was the one my soul had been searching for all these years. I no longer wanted to leave. In Nainital, spiritual programs were often organized at the Govardhan Hall by the lake. One afternoon, 3 or 4 days after I met Ma for the first time at Kainchi, Mummy and I were going to attend one of these events. We were carrying with us a beautiful length of red velvet edged with gold for the altar at Govardhan Hall, where Maharaji's photograph was kept. It was just something that Mummy and I had wanted to do quietly, as we had noticed that Maharaji's altar was looking very unkempt. We also gathered a few roses and other flowers from our garden. As always, we were going to take my jeep, which was waiting by the porch. I got in, turned the ignition and shifted gears. Straight away, the vehicle began to roll down the steep slope that led to and from Prasad Bhavan. As I tried to stop the jeep, I realized in a flash that the brakes were free. Mummy was sitting next to me, and my instant decision was to ram the car into the horse chestnut tree that stood before the main gate, so as to avert a great disaster. The impact of the crash on the vehicle was intense. I got tossed up in the air and overturned. I was flung out, though my legs were pinned under the jeep. Mummy was still inside. At that moment, I saw a clear vision of Ma, tall and serene in her white dhoti, towering over me. The next second, there was commotion all around. Almost magically, 10 or so men came running in from the street. Together, they lifted the vehicle and pulled me out first, and then rescued Mummy. All members of the household had come rushing out in the meantime. After the initial shock had waned, we discovered that Mummy only had a small scratch on her forehead, and I had a little pain in the upper back. We walked back to the house. For hours after, my mind kept circling back to that moment when I was trapped under the jeep. I had been convinced that it was my time. And then I saw Ma. There could be no doubt any longer. Ma was here to save me.
Shri Maan Jai Maan Jai Jai Maan, Shri Maan Jai Maan Jai Jai Maan, Shri Maan Jai Maan Jai Jai Maan, Jai Jai Shri Ambe, Jai Jagadambe, Jai Shri Ambe, Jai Jagadambe, Shri Maan Jai Maan Jai Jai Maan, Shri